I'm so tired of people saying that it's just a movie, it's just a comic book, it's just a TV show. Whatever. No, it's not. Stories are the building blocks of our culture, of ourselves, even of our own psychology. We are a product of the stories we tell ourselves about our own past and the experiences on a daily basis, but also the stories that we choose to spend time with. What types of values or feelings or whatever are they promoting? What types that we like to spend our time around? They're going to shape us. They're going to shape our personality and character, and they're going to shape our perception of the world and the acts and behaviors that we put out into the world. And people don't understand that. They go, it's just a movie. It's just this. I can like and promote whatever I want. Well, of course you can, but you should pay attention to the responsibility that you have.
Consume stories responsibly.
As a member of society, as a human being, responsibility to yourself.
Consider the consequences.
You need some balance. You need some certain criteria that is going to make sure you're promoting the right kind of works, or at least have thought through the type of work that this or that story is going to do in our culture, and then make your own decision whether or not that's something you want to support.
Consume stories responsibly. Consider the consequences. Consume stories responsibly.
Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to another Office Hours live stream. I hope I won't be coughing in your ears too much tonight, but that tis the way of it. Still getting over this cold. It's just taking forever to finally go away. But doing well. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Hopefully you're gearing up for a good Father's Day weekend, whether that's celebrating with your father or with your own children or father figures or whatever. But hopefully you're going well. Don't really have a huge or a well thought out topic. I didn't really plan too much, but I had every Father's Day for the last few years. I've been actually for longer than that. I think ever since my channel has been around, I always say something about the importance of fatherhood, or sometimes some years I'll point out certain fictional characters, that I think rise to the forefront, or maybe, I've just been thinking about that year or something. Of course, last year with the Pride Month bullies really out full force, it was important to talk about good traditional fatherhood and the need for it and so forth. This year, I've got a slightly different angle on it that I'll be talking about, but welcome to the chat. Nathaniel's Lowsball was first up, I believe. Actually, let me turn on live chat and get it off top chat there. Oh, sorry guys. I know that's probably going to be annoying, but Nathaniel's Lowsball, welcome. You said in a bit of a downer mood today. Hope that gets better for you. I think you're looking down a little lower. You said the movie theater near your house is closing. The mall where it's located, iconic in cinema history. Yeah. It's the mall's parking lot is where they filmed the reveal of the DeLorean and the chase scene in the Back to the Future. Sweet. That's awesome. Yeah, it's man. There's a meme that goes around that'll show like a picture of some typical scene from the 80s or the 90s, and the meme caption says the world you live in no longer exists, or the world you grew up in no longer exists. And it's so very true. It can be depressing the more you think about it, because it's more so than just, every generation changes, times change and so forth. And, everybody, when they get older, they realize that things aren't the way they were when they were kids, and that's normal. But what we're seeing right now is an unprecedented change. I think this is even more extreme, but it's similar to, say, somebody who grew up in like the early 1900s. Okay. Early 20th century, you could be a child at that time. And by the time, so you could be born into a world and growing up, as a young child in the world where you're still riding a horse and buggy. And then by the time you die, you're able to fly across the country and go see somebody in an airplane, it was an incredibly, if you look at history, we had never had up until that point into the 20th century, we'd never had such fast technological innovations, in that short a period of time. We're facing similar changes now in a very condensed period of time, but they're changing culture. These are even I would argue even stronger cultural changes than they were in the early 20th century. So it's the fact that we all have smartphones, that children today can't imagine a world that's not interconnected by a you pull it out of their pocket and they can get on the web. That's a culture shifting, even more so than like television. That's a more culture shifting phenomena or piece of technology. In the days of going to a mall, what? You had to go to the store and buy stuff you wanted. That's silly. The days of going to movie theaters and so forth. Yeah, it's just the world that we knew, not just any one of us who's grown and now the world we knew as a child is different. That happens everywhere, but the world that everybody knew in just 15 years ago, certainly more, but maybe as long as 15 years ago, simply doesn't exist. The culture has so radically shifted, and I would say it hasn't even changed. It's died. It really has died. It's become this very stale, boring, bland. We're just addicted to the next dopamine hit that we can get from the next TikTok video. That's for young people anyway. And you think about it, I've done videos before on how there's no, styles. There's no specific unique style, not even of the 2000 teens, to be honest. Some people try and point to this or that was in that maybe isn't so much in now, but it's not a big deal. Whereas you look at something like the 80s and the 90s, or the 60s and the 70s, those were radically different styles. People listened to the same music. They went out and engaged in the culture. The movies that were coming out that, there was a culture, there's a culture of summers. There was a culture of each year by year. And that's just not the case anymore. Everything's homogenized because nothing gets to sit and take root within us long enough, be it music, film, television, trends in clothes or whatever. It's just all here 1 second, gone the next, and nothing takes root and nothing gets celebrated in a cultural moment anymore. So yeah, it's a different world, and I think I'm just depressing you more, Nathaniel's Lowest Ball, which I'm sorry about, but I take solace at least in the fact that there are plenty of us here with you who would prefer the world that's past, certainly, and we band together and we try and create that culture within our own little circles at the very least. So anyway, let me welcome the rest of the people. Samuel Proctor, great to see you, channel member. Coffee said, I would just say that I did not grow up with a father, but I did have some father figures. A lot of those happen to be fictional characters, hero characters that can help and save people in real ways. I agree. Fictional father figures are vital, especially in the world today, where even more so than previous generations, we don't really have good real father figures in the world. I didn't grow up with the greatest father figure, but I looked to these fictional heroes and He-Man, Superman, Batman. These were characters that not to be too hyperbolic, but in the absence of a real father figure in a child's life, they can teach you how to be a man if you're a boy. And they can teach you how a woman is to be treated if you're a young girl, and so forth. So yeah, they're very important. Darth Enigma, welcome. Ghost Planet Max Inc., good to see you. Studio 96 Films, great to see you there. Eldridge Fan is on a mission from God to ruin Hand of Thrawn for me. He won't be stopped. He will tell me the character that comes back and all the things that happen. Glad you're enjoying it though, sir. Leia Plus Size, welcome. Divinital Cayenne says, are y'all as excited as I am for my stream or for Father's Day? Great to see you there. AL Michael Scimbati, channel member, said, my dad, who passed away, was Italian, and I have fond memories of watching Batman 89 and Untouchables 87. That's a great film too. With him, just curious, is Black Mask starting to become one of my favorite villains? Oh, so Black Mask is becoming one of your favorite villains? Yeah, Roman Sionis, he's an interesting character. He's we've never really seen. Now, I never watched Gotham, so I don't know if that ever did anything with it. Gotham was just such a weird idea to me. I'm sure there were cool things that happened in it, But the whole show, the producers came out before the show came on and said, "Hey, we're not interested in telling a Batman story. We really want to just tell a crime drama, a police drama about Jim Gordon before he became commissioner." And I thought, interesting idea, but I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in Batman without Batman, But then, like, if I didn't ever watch the show, but season by season, it was like, how much of Batman can we tell without actually making him Batman? To the point where you even got young Bruce Wayne running around in a mask, but he's not Batman yet, guys. And it was kind of like Smallville, like when it lasted way too long, and he's basically Superman, but they just haven't called him Superman yet. But Gotham was even worse because they kept bringing in all these villains and just like playing out their complete and total stories, and you didn't even have a Batman yet, and it's just like, what is going on here? So I don't know if that had Black Mask in it at all, but that certainly was not Black Mask in the Birds of Prey garbage film. And even in the Batman Arkham games, I really liked what they did with Joker in Arkham Origins, but it was billed as it was going to be Black Mask's game, and he was going to be the big villain, and he really wasn't. But he is a fascinating character, the kind of old school mob boss. He sort of bridges the gap between the old world mob villains that was in Gotham, bridges the gap between them and the new kind of super villains or psycho villains that come in after Batman is in at work. Because he is an old mob boss, but he's a bit psycho. He wears that black mask. He is obsessed with masks. He's obsessed with faces too. He likes to disfigure people's faces and whatnot. He's obsessed with owning Batman's mask and so forth. He's a creepy villain. A really cool concept. Lecture Barbarella, thank you so much for the Happy Father's Day. Thank you. Yeah, I had a great few days with Alyssa there. Let me know, Lecture Barbarella. I sent you an email about I just wanted to make sure that I'm right if I am supposed to be waiting on your decision for the next draft or whatever, but I hadn't heard back from you, which is fine. I just want to make sure you weren't waiting on me. So maybe check your email. Just let me know. Private Eye and Retrospectiva, good to see you. Darth Enigma, if I haven't welcomed you yet. Yeah, Imaginative Hobbyist. Welcome to all. Hey, Alec Purdue's here as well. And of course, my dear sweet sound engraver. Great to see you all. Yeah, Oh, Eldritch Fan for 189, thank you. Said, I'm writing rule number 1, no women Jedi. Interesting. Number 1, no women Jedi. Okay, where'd that? Oh, you mean from like Disney's nonsense, Acolyte nonsense or something? Yeah, I don't. Do not blame you. Another super chat rolled in from Dr. Y. Thank you so much. Happy 30th anniversary to The Lion King. How fitting that it's the weekend of Father's Day. I did not know that. That's interesting. Yeah, more people need to. The Lion King was never my favorite Disney movie or anything. I appreciated it. But more people, especially today, in light of all the ridiculous live-action remakes, and especially this stupid new Scar movie that they're going to be coming out with, you got to give the villains their own movies. The villains are really just kind of misunderstood. I hate this kind of nonsense trend. But yeah, we need to go back and encourage people to celebrate that original film for all the glorious, wonderful things that original movie had about it. It was really good. I love in Kingdom Hearts 2, I think, yeah, when you finally get to go to the Pride Lands and Sora becomes a little lion running around. It's so much fun too because he's so much faster than he is when he's running around just as Sora, and that was pretty fun. But yeah, good to know. Thank you for letting me know that. So yeah, I was gonna say with Alyssa, yeah, my see, I don't usually have her on Sundays. She has half the week with Sound Engraver and I, and then she has half the week with her mother and her stepfather. And with Alyssa, with her cognitive development and everything, she doesn't understand things like Father's Day or Mother's Day. But she really, really likes her routine. And she gets rather anxious when her routine's messed up. Now, sometimes it can't be helped. One of us has a trip or something like that, and you have to kind of switch it a day or here and there. But I was faced with the fact that it was like, okay, I'd love to have my daughter on Father's Day. But, do I really want to cause her that anxiety when she would rather just stick to her routine? That's very clear. I'd just be causing her anxiety, just to assuage my, pride at having my daughter with me or whatever. I was like, no, I'm not going to do that for her. I'm going to be a good father and not cause her that pain or whatever. Because she can't, be explain the matter or whatever, understand it. So we had a great day yesterday before I dropped her off this morning. I was going to take her out and do anything she wanted, but she likes routine, so she wanted to go back home, and we had pizza and we played video games. She loves playing Kingdom Hearts. It's one of her favorite. That's why I had it in the brain there a second ago. But yeah, so we did that, and then next week I'll take her to an amusement park when we got her again. So good times with my daughter, and more to come. But sound engraver, my amazing wife sound engraver. I didn't expect this at all. She totally surprised me. I got home today from dropping off Alyssa, and sound engraver and I were going to get ready to go to mass, and she had baked me a cake. Sound engraver baked me my favorite type of cake, a classic yellow cake with chocolate fudge icing. Sorry, this cord is bugging me. But yeah, chocolate fudge icing, classic yellow cake. Oh, that's my favorite kind of cake. You can't beat it. And she bought ice cream for it too. And I tried the cake. The cake is delicious. So I'm excited to dig into that later. So I've got a great weekend coming up here. And some rest. Some good sleep-in days and some rest, which is great. Let's see. Let me get to the super chats. Let me go back to StreamYard so I can put these up like a responsible YouTuber. Divinital Kayan, thank you so much for the $5. Said I'm part of the Lion King fandom. You have no idea how woke and stupid it's gotten. Don't look it up. Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, I don't follow it, like you're saying you follow it there, but I can imagine. And it's such a shame because it was golden, right? I mean, at first Lion King was great. Even the little Lion King 1.5 or the Lion King, because Disney was doing like everything had to get a sequel, direct to DVD sequels, but whatever, they were good, they were fun. The Timon and Pumbaa show, I got Alyssa a shirt, a Lion King shirt that says Hakuna Matata, and it's so funny because she hasn't quite learned how to say the word yet. So every time I got Sound Engraver one too, and every time she sees Sound Engraver wearing it or sees her own, she's like Hakuna Baduda, or whatever. It's pretty cute. But yeah, celebrate the original Lion King. Enough of this nonsense new stuff. Electric Barbarella, thank you so much for the $5. Said, yes, my job has been insane this week. I'm so sorry. I didn't have, oh no, please don't apologize. Anytime I send you a message, it's not like it's time sensitive. Get back to me. I just wanted to make sure you didn't think I was, or you weren't waiting on me to give you something. And you were like, where is that guy? Yeah. So that's fine. No worries. Michael Scambati for another $1.99. Thank you so much. Said, Professor Geek, don't forget my second message. Making me scroll back up and trying to find stuff. Mr. Scambati likes to do that. I'm not seeing it here, Michael. What was it about? Just retype it in the chat there, and I'll be looking for it. If you copy and paste it as a new comment, I'll see it there, and that'll be easier for me just to see that and read it for you, which I'd be happy to do. Channel member. Let's see. Drop the thing there. Okay, good. All right. Oh, Big Al popped in. Big Al says, Jappy Father's Day. That's racist, Al. Nathaniel Lisbell talking about, he said, can boss or my favorite boss from the Kingdom Hearts series. I can pick one Disney character and one non-Disney character. Oh, that's so hard, man. Oh, that's so hard. Man, I don't know. Favorite boss. I don't know, because I'm having trouble conceiving of like all of the bosses and all of the 3 games that 4 or 5 games actually that I've played. I don't know. I know that the fight with Ansem at the end of the first one is ridiculous. It's such a Final Fantasy type fight too, because it's like, oh, you defeated him, now he comes back this way. Oh, you defeated him there, now he comes back that way. It got to the point I was playing it for Sound Engraver, and she plays Final Fantasy games, and she was like, that's ridiculous, because he kept coming back. But it was a fun fight. I don't know. I did like fighting Captain Hook. That was fun. I don't know, man. I'm sorry. I just don't have an answer for you. I'm really bad at answering those, like, what's your favorite, if I'm put on the spot. If you give me some time to think about it, I'll try and think about it before next week's stream, and I'll come back with a good answer for you. Yeah, I need time for those what's your favorite ones. All right, here's Michael Somebody's comment there. Black Mask is a mob boss who controls crime in Gotham City. Great design, especially in Arkham Origins. Plus, if Joker was ever to be killed, Black Mask should kill him. So tired of Joker. You think Black Mask would kill him? I haven't thought about it. I'm not arguing with you. I just hadn't thought about that. Yes, I greatly hated seeing the Ansem fight. Interesting, yeah. But he is a fascinating character, Black Mask, and I love the voice acting in Arkham Origins too. That was like that. Yeah, that's how Black Mask should sound. That was really good. Just making sure I didn't miss anything here. Andre Hernandez, welcome. Great to see you. Alec Purdue said, Happy Father's Day. I'll be celebrating it a day late since my dad's out of town this weekend and I work on Father's Day. I'll rejoin the stream if I can. Got to go drive now. Yeah, well, be safe. Yeah, definitely be safe. Don't do that. Gentle Savage said, Yo, Prof, is the old grumpy Superman from Kingdom Come still an aspirational hero? Also, have you ever played the Shadow of Mordor games? I have played the Shadow of Mordor. I think it's only one game, right? I haven't played it all the way through yet because I kind of, I've tried to play it 3 or 4 times and it's fun. I like the gameplay. It's very mirrored on the Batman Arkham series in terms of the type of gameplay. It's a cool concept. I've gotten up to the point, where you see Gollum and stuff like that. But it's not a very intuitive game to play through the story of. You see these sort of general orcs in Mordor and you try and take them out, and that's kind of fun because if you lose to one, they get promoted and stuff like that, and are harder to kill the next time. So it's fun gameplay. And I like the concept of the ghost of man kind of linked to the ghost of the elf. But it's not very intuitive in order to play through a storyline. It's too sort of just have fun with whatever, and so I've always kind of lost interest in it and never finished it. One of these days I'll finish it and then I'll be able to say what I really think about it. Kingdom Come it's not iconic Superman, okay? Meaning that's not the way the real true blue Superman definitely would have behaved, definitely would have, gone through. It's not a full-blown deconstruction of Superman either, though. It is, it's sort of like, it's an Elseworlds. It's classic Elseworlds. What if Superman had done this un-Superman-like thing and had turned his back and stuff like that, and yet he comes back and tries to make amends for it and whatnot? It's not deconstructing. A deconstruction would have been, this is just the way he is, and he said, screw it, who cares about truth, justice, and the American way or whatever. It was an Elseworlds. It was like, what if these things had happened, and then he was trying to make it right or something like that? So it's a fascinating story. It's a fun story. It's a good story, but I think it should be understood that it's not the iconic Superman. So I don't know. I wouldn't call him textbook aspirational. It's an interesting story because it's him trying to regain aspirational status, if that's possible. So it's an interesting story. And but yeah, that's my thoughts on that. All right, so what I was going to say about Father's Day this time around, and I don't know how much I've got to say about this. I just still got Alec Purdue coming up there. I was thinking, I actually thought about this in Mass tonight, too. This is where it kind of came from in my thinking, but it's not just a religious topic or anything. But one of the things about Catholicism is that we believe in the authority of the apostles, right? When Jesus tells the apostles that, he gives them, the authority, blesses them with the keys of the kingdom. Whoever sins they retain are retained, whoever sins they remit or remitted, whatnot. I know that Protestants have a different translation of that verse, or interpretation rather of that verse. But one of the things the Catholic Church has always been built on is the spiritual authority that Jesus handed down to the apostles, and then the apostles handed down to their successors, and so forth. And it got me thinking about authority in general and how authority, I think we need, one of the problems with today's culture is that we need more authority. But authority is a dirty word today. and it's been increasingly becoming a dirty word, throughout the ages. It's true that authority, there's almost nothing worse out there than corrupt authority. And since we're all human beings, any individual with authority, you just count the seconds before some sort of corruption touches them. Maybe not much, maybe it's only momentarily or whatever, but corruption happens. But the answer is not just to throw authority out the window. I've never really understood, and let me say, I've understood it, this sort of extremist libertarian take on the world, going all the way into like an ANCAP philosophy, anarcho-capitalist philosophy or something like that. I understand the appeal. No one likes to be told what to do. No one likes to have somebody else have authority over them. It's not fun. It's not, and especially when it's so easily, you can so easily become blinded by the corruption that happens in authority that you think there's no use for authority, or that authority is evil. And that's not the case. It's never been the case in culture. We never would have had the great things we have today if it wasn't for authority. And that authority, more often than not, comes from a patriarchal society. It's built into our humanity in the fact that, with a man being sort of the father of the household and stuff, there's a certain authority to fatherhood. You can take that as far as you want to, but just even on the basic level, like a child is going to respond to the father's deep voice saying, "Get out here now," rather than a mother saying, whatever. Not that mothers can't be terrifying and have their own sense of, discipline and authority, but you know what I mean? It's just sort of a basic thing, that there's an authority when it comes to fatherhood. And our culture has tried to push authority aside, belittle the nature of authority. In America, part of that was the American experiment, the preference for democracy. Part of it was the fact that really Protestantism, various shades of Protestantism, really kind of, gripped America. There was Catholics from the beginning, of course, or Anglicans from the beginning, of course, because Anglicans have their own sort of settled liturgical authority. Mormonism started in really the church kind of, came about in America there at a certain time. And I think from my understanding of Mormonism is it has its own sort of level of authority there. But the real, if you think about American Christianity, the real thing you think about is more of a sort of evangelical, non-associated, whether it's non-denominational or just sort of you're Baptist here, you're this and that there. And there's not a lot of authority binding that together. Now, I'm not trying to straw man it at all, because of course a faithful Protestant will tell you, no, our authority is the word of God. But there's no decided interpreter of that authority outside of each individual's relationship with the Holy Spirit, right? That's what they would tell you. So as a result, if somebody misbehaves in, Park Street Free Baptist Church or whatever, and the congregation is, upset about this, to the point, something extreme, and they boot this person from the congregation, that person can just go start their own church 2 blocks down and call themselves pastor. There's no sort of sense of authority or sense of, it's just really authority. Authority has to have consequences. There has to be consequences, or else you don't really have an authority. And so we kind of booted that idea, mainstream culture wise from even religion, to the point where now we're like, mainstream culture doesn't even like the idea of any religion, any kind of talk about anything like that. You have a lot of people trying to reject any and all authority of the state, which, hey, I'm all for. Let's fight against the tyranny of the state. My goodness, America was founded on the principles that you elect your leaders and then you watch them like a hawk and hold their feet to the fire because the power's with the people and so forth. And we've gotten far too far away from that. But nonetheless, there was a government established. Power is necessary. And we're seeing the consequences today of a world without authority. And there's a basic authority innate in the American monomyth, in a hero. in any of our heroic archetypes. They're taking the authority of justice, right? No, this is wrong what you're doing, villain, and I'm here to stop you. And in our culture is consistently and trying to more and more say, yeah, but what's wrong? I mean, who are you to say that's wrong? What if we have a movie about that villain and their story, and you see what they went through, and you actually kind of see it from their perspective? And is it wrong? I mean, I don't know. I mean, Cruella was mistreated by Dalmatians. I mean, this is nonsense. Because we're so culture in general, and certainly the ideologues hate this idea of authority, hate it. So, of course, they're going to hate traditional masculinity, traditional fatherhood, and hate traditional hero stories, which stem from this idea. It's no, you guys have been talking about it. It's no surprise that people looking for father figures growing up or whatever do latch on to certain fictional characters and certain heroes because it's example, archetypically you've got the tyrannical father or the benevolent father, and they've been called different things, but the wicked king or the good king or whatever. And there's nothing worse than a tyrannical father. Oh my gosh, that tyrannical father archetype is a great source of evil. It is the villain, but you can't throw out the benevolent father with that. It's necessary. It's part of culture falls apart without it. Culture, society falls apart without it. Look at the type of films, like a Captain Marvel, the Marvel's Captain Marvel or whatever. Those kind of movies where the ideologues have made who reject this idea of basic authority. What is that movie all about? She has been abused by this authority system. She needs to break free from that. Does she ever really learn to be self-giving or learn to put herself aside and serve others? No. Her story arc is about how she needs to realize that she is amazing and she needs to shine and she needs to throw this off and it's not about anybody else. It's about her, and that's the kind of stories that we get, hero stories that we get when we discard the idea of authority at all. I love stories that encourage us to question or to as I say, hold our leaders' feet to the fire, but we still need leaders. We still need that authority. It's basic there, So that's something that I see in terms of the world war on fathers, and it's an idea that I think we could talk about more, and I could develop it a bit more and stuff. But I got a couple super chats here I want to get to before I go too long. Dr. Y for $5. Thank you. Said, I had this thought. God is not the God of rebels. How can God be the God of rebels when he's the supreme authority of the universe? Yeah, God is a God of order. God is a God of justice, mercy and compassion and love and all of those things as well, of course, but you can't discard that idea of justice. Yeah, absolutely. Eldritch Fan for $1.99 said, dump overt authority, you get covert authority. Ooh, that's a good, hey, well put. Yeah, that's good. Dump overt authority and you get covert authority. Yeah, very true. Very true. Yep. Did I miss something else here? Adding on to that, Eldritch Fan said you get inverted hierarchy with rules made up by unseen string pullers from below. Yeah. Sound Engraver, I've talked about it. I'm showing her the Stargate, shows. Well, Stargate SG-1 and Stargate Atlantis. And it's third time I've watched Stargate SG-1 through. But I was telling her we just started Atlantis the other day because, we're watching them in order. And now that we're on Atlantis, we're going to bounce back and forth, watch one SG-1, one Atlantis, in the order of their airing. But I said, I think this is only my second time through watching Atlantis. I don't think I ever actually rewatched that from back in the day. But, at this point in the Stargate universe, I hate saying Stargate universe because that implies I'm talking about that horrible third series they did. But, the Stargate SG-1 universe, let me say. There's questions in the fictional world about who should be in charge of the Stargate. Once more countries start finding out about it, should we really let the Americas, or America maintain control of this, and then they have to have treaties with each other to appease, which is, it's good writing. That's something that certainly would happen. But we're going to see more. I don't want to say anything because I'm not going to spoil it for Sound Engraver, but we're going to see more and more of that, like who really should be in charge. Should it be a military at the top of the authority, or should it be a civilian? Because militaries are supposed to answer to civilians in America. That's the American tradition, that the military answers to the president, who is an elected civilian, supposed to be anyway, right? Because if you just have a military in power, then you've got what's the word? Domineering. Can't think of the word, but anyway, that's what we see in, like, third world countries and whatnot. This military regime throwing over the other one and setting up their own power and so forth. So it's an interesting question, and we see that played out in fiction quite well. At the same time, you need good, strong leadership. Anybody who's been in the military, or if you've been in law enforcement or whatever, you need that chain of command. You need a clear chain of command. I mean, sometimes you even worked in jobs, I'm sure, where you needed this. You need a clear chain of command. Authority is necessary. It's necessary in families. Parents need to have authority over children. Some of these, especially you get to the crazy hippie ideologues, they, we're just going to have a talk with the kid and this and that about their feelings, like, that kid needs to be smacked. I mean, discipline is what I mean. Yeah. So anyway, sound engraver. That's right. Stargate is how you write men in command. That's right. General George Hammond. Just awesome. I like the other, again, I'm trying to not to spoil anything for Sound Engraver, because right now we're in season 8, so she knows that Brigadier General Jack O'Neill is head of the SGC. But I like all of the ways that Stargate places those in command. It's interesting. Stargate's a good example of this, because even in Stargate Atlantis, and again, I'm not going to steal anything or spoil anything for Sound Engraver here, but you have Dr. Elizabeth Weir. We just started Atlantis. She's just started watching it through for the first time. So you have Dr. Elizabeth Weir there as the one in charge of Atlantis. And that kind of makes sense, because you would need, on one level, you'd need a more feminine energy to go out into another galaxy like that and maintain relations with the new peoples and all of that. Nevertheless, you can't have an action adventure show with just a feminine energy in charge. It doesn't work. So right off the bat, you've got Major Shepard, but then of course, what's his name, the guy from X-Files who shows up as Colonel Caldwell. You need that masculine military presence as well, and authority, because you things don't get done otherwise. Things, you need both. That's why children need both a mother and a father, as masculine and feminine natures are vital. And I know a lot of kids, for whatever reason, have to grow up without one or the other, but that's why they'll naturally seek out father or mother figures where one might be missing. It's just natural. AL's taken off. Al, thank you so much. So good night. Got to get up early to get hubby's special Father's Day donut for breakfast. That's pretty sweet. Well, happy Father's Day to him. Have a great Father's Day weekend. Thank you, Al. Thanks for stopping in and hanging out with us there. Andre Hernandez, thank you so much for the $20 super chat. Very much appreciated, sir. Said, as someone who knew buff jocks to be jerks, I think what made characters like Superman and Captain America so special is the way they were big and strong, but they weren't jerks. They were kind, cool, and wholesome Boy Scouts. Yeah, that's the difference. Maybe they, I don't think Steve Rogers ever grew up playing, sports. He was actually too sickly or whatnot. But different tellings of Superman's story have him maybe playing football, or at least following football or whatnot. So maybe they played sports, but they weren't. Not that there's anything innately wrong with being a jock, that's fine. But they weren't the stereotypical jocks. They were stereotypical, the other word you said, Boy Scouts. That's great. I mean, that's the because what did an organization like the Boy Scouts back in the day try and teach little boys, to be have integrity, to love God and their country. I mean, this was part of the basic. I mean, it's certainly never going to be anything like that today in today's culture, but that's there. We've lost that sense of fraternities from it. That idea just occurred to me, because I've mentioned before that I recently joined the Knights of Columbus, which is a Catholic fraternity, but there are other, Christian fraternities and stuff like that are, but men need, they need to be sharpened by other men. They need that sort of, and they need the authority of other men. It's always been a hard thing for me because I'm such an introvert. And I also hate the stereotypical men's gathering. Even before I became Catholic, when I was at various Protestant churches or whatever, I hated going to like a men's group or a men's retreat because like, oh, you see that football game? I built a deck on the back of my house last week, and what size board you use for that? I'm like, I don't care about any of this crap. This is the most boring, inane garbage I can think of. I just hate it. I hate that kind of thing. But I think that's indicative of the problem where, our culture has thought of as men doing men stuff is so trivial. Oh, they're just talking about a bunch of sports things or not that that's not, I mean, it's fine. If you're into sports, that's fine. If you're into, carpentry or whatever, that's fine. But men getting together, really talking about important, serious stuff, we've lost the idea of the intellectual. Everybody wants to talk about their man cave right now, but no one wants to talk about their study. We've lost the idea of and that's real manhood. Not that every man has to be an egghead, intellectual or a professor or whatever, but talking about important philosophical and spiritual things is part of manhood. Certainly part of fatherhood. My goodness, So yeah, that's part of it too. Again, like I told you, I don't really have a set outline tonight. I'm just kind of talking off the cuff and getting through this stuff here. Got another super chat from Eldridge Fan. Thank you so much. Said, when jocks are jerks, they're misusing their strength. Strong people don't need to tear others down and undermine to rule, but weak people and women, DOTM, don't know what that means there. Not quite sure at the end of the phrase means there, but yeah, no, well, that's the wonderful lesson that Captain America taught us. That's what Joe Jusko, was that his name? The director of their first Captain America film, just so perfectly showed with Dr. Erskine. When Steve Rogers says, I only have one question, why did you choose me? The night before the procedure. And Erskine says, I guess, that's the only question that matters. And Erskine basically tells him, he says, a strong man who's known strength, if you give him more strength, he'll become a bully. He'll become a tyrant. But a weak man who's given strength knows what it was to be weak and knows the power of strength, knows to respect that strength. And he said, that's why you were chosen. I'm paraphrasing, I'm not saying it anywhere near as eloquently as the lines are in the film, but he said, that's why you were chosen. He said, no matter what happens tomorrow, you have to remember, to promise me one thing, that you will remain who you are. Not a great soldier, but a good man. And that's just, write that down, frame it, and put it on the wall. That is so important. And yeah, so I appreciate the comment there. I agree, Nerd Wizard. Hate that crap in church and life too, so cliche. This is the men's group here. We're going to talk about grilling and farting and, just like, what? Anyway, yeah, weak people need to tear others down to rule. That's what you were finishing out there. I get it, Eldridge Fan. Yeah. See if I missed anything here. Joe Johnson, was that his name? Samuel Proctor? Joe Johnson, the director. He also did Rocketeer and Wolfman. Did he do Wolfman too? I think he did. The Weaker Vessel. It's a happy Father's Day. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Yeah. So the Matt Walsh Club. I don't know. Is that what kind of, is that Matt Walsh into that kind of thing? I know he's not into like anything remotely mythological or superhero, but and I'm not really a fan. I mean, I loved his What Is a Woman documentary, but I've talked about why I can't really listen to his other work. But he struck me as like he's trying to be intellectual. I don't know. I don't know much about him. So, Michael Singbody's talking about mobs Now, mob, I mean, you can be a big mob movie fan or fans of mob stories and everything. That's fine. That's not what I'm talking about here. But like a real mob would be the you know it's interesting. Mobs would form from men wanting that kind of sense of fraternity, of authority, but obviously no moral compass. I heard a story. I don't know if it's how legitimate it is, but I think mafia, doesn't mafia mean my girl, my daughter? And like the idea was that the mafia, like the myth behind the start of the mafia anyway, was like the men from a village or whatever banding together because there was this woman out there, like her daughter was being misused or victimized some way by somebody in authority. So the men of the society gathered around and came up against the authority and sort of formed their own authority. I don't know if that's how true that is, but that's the myth that I'd heard. And it's a fascinating one because it would say that something like the mafia started by a wonderful impetus there, men wanting to assert real, true morals and authority and justice in a government system that was impotent to give it to them or too corrupt to give it to them or whatever. But of course, it's become a criminal underworld thing now, so it's certainly not the same thing. Sandra Proctor says, so you're not saying you're not a member of the cult of Matt Walsh, the Sweet Baby Gang? Sweet Baby Gang? Is that what he calls people? No, I'm not a Matt Walsh fan. I am not. Like I said, I appreciate some of the things he's done. We talked about it a little bit last stream. I appreciate the fact that, him and a lot of the other Daily Wire guys are trying to put out conservative content, but I think they come off as, more often than not, too many of them come off as crotchety old men yelling about people on their lawn, which is a shame because they've got good things to say, important things to say. So, yeah. All right. So, oh, got you. You were joking around. Yeah, I didn't, I wasn't familiar with the terminology there, Senator Proctor, so I didn't know where you were going with that. Divinital Cayenne for a super chat. Thank you so much. Said Matt Walsh fan here. He's more the grouchy introvert homebody. He cares about his family, history, Catholicism, and fishing, and aliens. So many aliens. And yes, it's Sweet Baby. Oh, so that's why he calls his fans Sweet Baby Gang. I didn't know he was into aliens. I had no idea. That's kind of fascinating. And that's even more interesting to me. How can you be into aliens but think superheroes are just tawdry children's stuff? Yeah, I don't know. But like I said, I don't hate him. I think he's got important things to say and he's done important work. I mean, that documentary, he's probably done more documentary, but the only ones I know is that one. But interesting. I wonder where the Sweet Baby Gang came from. I don't know. Interesting. But thank you so much for the clarification there and the super chat. Michael Scombati said, good quote for Black Mask. You can't have organized crime without law and order. It's true. The idea of organized crime, there's an organization there. So there are things that, in an organized crime system, mafia or whatever, there are things off the table. There are things taboo. There are rules that they can't, that they can't cross or break, even though they're criminals and their whole being is to break rules. It's not that they're just out, they're not anarchists. Not to try and paint the Joker into the little box that the Dark Knight put him in, but the Joker's always had that sort of chaotic strain within him in terms of his crime. He's not, even the gangster type Joker, like a Jack Nicholson type, or the things we had in the comic books before, is still sort of a rebellion against that organized nature of the gangs, the wild card, So it's that's why it is such an interesting pairing, Black Mask versus the Joker, which Arkham Origins gave us a bit of. Yeah, pretty fascinating there. Let's see. Andre Hernandez said, comic books, superheroes, and video games are manly things, right, Prof? Darn straight. Darn straight. No, this is sort of an aside. I think it's weakness. It's an effeminization of manhood. Now, when I say an effeminization of manhood, I don't mean it's a feminine trait. I mean, manhood should be, a masculinity should be a certain way, and it shouldn't be femininity, right? There's two different things. So if you have an effeminization of masculinity, it's pulling masculinity away from what it should be. It's not necessarily saying that that trait that's pulling it away from it is definitely feminine or the healthy, developed feminine. No. So, but it is an effeminization of manhood to lose control, to not be able to assert self-control. And we've seen this, when we were doing the book study of Shatterpoint. Mace Windu is up against this, this person who's 100% primal, bestial, by instinct, and rules like an alpha dog, by fear. And Mace Windu goes up against him at one point and orchestrates this situation in which he lets the guy kick his butt. I mean, hard, and really make him look bad, like drag his pride through the dirt, and make him look so weak and in front of everybody. But you find out that he had a very specific reason for doing it, so that he could do this, this, and that. It was all part of his plan. It was a perfectly logical plan. And the person he's explaining it to later is like, how did you, in Mace Windu says, again, paraphrasing, but he says, our only hope against people who can't control themselves is to absolutely control ourselves. And that's, you don't lose self-control. It's fun. It's fun to hear about catharsis, to experience the catharsis of like an anti-hero. It's fun to watch a Punisher, this and that or story or whatever. But that's why it's dangerous. That's why it's so just disgusting. People who want to call for Batman to go out and just kill people and be an insane, crime fighter, tortured by his inner demons. And he just goes out for vengeance on everybody. And it's speaking to their own lack of self-control. It's speaking to their own inability to come to terms with their own shadow. The real man has control over his own shadow. He doesn't deny the shadow, and you don't repress the shadow, your shadow self. You acknowledge it and control it. Put a harness on it. You use it and let it have its day, but you use it in a controlled way. That's real manhood. And I forgot what got me on that. I was going somewhere with it, developing that, going back to a certain point, but I forgot what the video games and stuff. Because I hear sometimes I hear a lot of Catholic channels, talk about, they'll try and lump video games in with like pornography, like things that are detrimental to men, and pornography certainly is, because it's trying to get a reward for something that you did no work for, just on the very surface level, among the many other things or whatever. But it can be described as an effeminization of man. You're pouring all your time, energy into this one thing. But they try and lump video games in with that, which is pretty absurd. Yes, it is very possible, and there have been instances, very sad cases, of people who are just addicted to a video game. And it's a slope that you can fall down, because a video game tells you that you're achieving something, you're doing something, you're accomplishing something. You gain these trophies, you achieve these quests, you did this thing or whatever. You get a sense of accomplishment. And that's good. It feels good. And but in the end of the day, when you turn the game system off, you haven't done a darn thing. You haven't accomplished a single thing that day. So it's dangerous, and it is dangerous to sink all of your time into video games. But that's ridiculous. That's like somebody saying, alcohol is evil because people get addicted to it and ruin their lives with it. People are going to get addicted and ruin their lives with just about anything. If you're going to say something's evil, you got to have some more moral reasons for that. For my sake, video game is a way to experience story. It's a way to, it's in a bit of an escape. It's entertainment, sure, but it's also a way to experience story in a way that's so different from reading a book or watching a film. Our brains are wired, whether we're watching a movie or reading a novel, our brains, and they've hooked up people like to, MRIs and whatnot as they've read, and they've seen the parts of their brain that lights up as they're reading and experiencing story. And they found that even subconsciously, we cannot help but to put ourselves in the place of the main character that's going through something. Asking ourselves, what would we do in that situation? Or what would it be like to experience what they're experiencing in that situation? And that's why the types of stories you consume are so important. Because if you're consuming nothing but a bunch of nihilistic, this or that, that's the exercises you're putting your brain through. What if I was experiencing that? What if I was in that situation where there was no right answer? Just there was nothing right to do. You're shaping your worldview little by little, and you don't even realize it. But a video game is a way where you're actually consciously deciding on some stuff, depending on the video game. I like games like Knights of the Old Republic, where you can choose to go to the dark side or the light side. And games like The Witcher or things like that, where you choose certain paths, and the story is tailored to your decisions that you make in those situations. I really like that kind of game because it just gives you a new way of experiencing story, and done in a healthy way, and certainly a measured way. It's good for, I think it's very good for development. Dr. Y for $10. Mafia, derived from the Sicilian adjective mafioso. It can mean swagger, bravado, or boldness. Okay, so maybe that myth I heard was just an old wives' tale, but it's still a fascinating one. Or maybe it's still similar to what you're saying, but there's some sort of connection that I just don't see or something. I don't know. Got another super chat here I wanted to miss before I got Nathaniel's Lowsball for $9.99. Thank you so much. So do you hear how games lately with character creation has gotten rid of traditional male and female options? I didn't know that, but it doesn't shock me at all. They replaced them with body type 1 or 2, or body type A or B. This is so ridiculous. And see, this is one of the things that I think people need to be on guard against. Big Al and Fan Man have a little private message chat, where we chat with each other, occasionally. And Fan Man asked a question. He's like, how are you guys, navigating Pride Month this time around? And, we were saying how it's, they seem to be certainly quieted down. It's like they've, a lot of the businesses in particular, I think have certainly gun shy about going out and really bold public extreme support for it that, suffering what Bud Light and Target did last year, and other businesses too. But that doesn't mean, okay, common sense is won. No. Because, whether we're talking about woke ideologues pushing their stuff into our entertainment, our society on any level, what they've learned, which is a basic human trait or human characteristic, is if you want somebody to accept something very, very outlandish or difficult for them to accept, like, for example, if you want, psychologists will tell you this, if you want somebody to do you a favor that it's going to be kind of a stretch for them, they're not going to be likely to want to do you this favor, ask them for a more extreme or even more difficult favor first. And then say, or if you can't do that, could you maybe at least do this? It's this subtle little psychological game you can play with somebody to get them, then they're more likely to go ahead and accept doing what you wanted them to begin with, because it doesn't sound quite as bad or extreme as the other thing. They feel like they're escaping, somehow, or getting by with less. The same thing is true with culture. They showed their hand big time last year, and they were bullying through the most absurd, trying to mutilate children and all this stuff, which they're still trying to do. They haven't backed off any of that. But they're trying to pretend, or not pretend, but everything's a bit tamer this summer. It's still there when you know where to look for it, but it's a little tamer to give you a sense of, okay, we're backing down from that. But then they're going to still rest on or grapple or win some sort of ground, and it's absurd. Jordan Peterson has been given this statement, I think, in a couple different interviews lately. And it's an interesting one. He talks about, he said, pride is a sin. It's a cardinal sin. There's a reason it was chosen for the cardinal sin. And why would you say that this is, what you're going to celebrate this month? And then he says, but the person you say that to would say, well, it's not pride like that. When they say Pride Month, they're just trying to be, proud of who they are and accepting of who they are and this, and that. And his comment is, yeah, but you didn't say that. You used the word pride. I would even go a step farther in saying, no, they do mean pride. They do mean pride, the sin. They'll try and sell it in a different way and say, no, we don't mean like that. We just mean, we want to be accepted and we wanted this, and that. No. We're long past it. If you want to, if John wants to wear a dress and call himself Sally, or the other way around, you can do that in today's society. You can even go outdoors like that, but you have no right to demand that people think the way you want them to think about your life choices. You have no right to demand that people are morally accepting and encouraging and compassionate about all your little life choices. You have no right to do that. You certainly have no right to allow children who haven't even, the gray matter's still congealing. They don't even know. They don't have the ability to make these sort of decisions for themselves. And you have no right to try to strong arm them into these nonsense lifestyles just for your own sense of validation. Pride Month is about bullying. It's about pride. It's I need everybody to think pretty things about me. I need everybody to think I'm amazing. That's just straight up sinful pride. There's no, it's just about taking pride in your life. And that's ridiculous. Stop playing with the word. They mean pride. They mean the sin. And it's evident in everything that's going on. So we're going to see a resurgence. If not, surely we'll see it next year, if not before, but it's coming. It's definitely coming, because it's not about having the right to do something with your own life or your own body or whatever. They've got that. That's not what it's about at all. It's about ramrodding this illusion, this delusional sense of reality down everybody's throats, making it a crime to say, hey, no, I don't agree with that. No, I don't believe that. No, I think that's wrong. They want to make that a crime. They want to make sanctions upon you for daring. They're bullies. They're just straight up bullies. It's all there is to it. And YouTube's the biggest bully of them all, because I said this exact thing last year, and they said, no, you're doing hate speech. Think about that. To say somebody is engaging in hate speech, that's a very serious accusation. And it requires some specifics. It requires some proof. But YouTube just paints any sentiment that they don't like is hate speech. They get to say it's hate speech, and they face no consequences for it. There's no sense. They don't even have a pinned down list of defining attributes for what they think is hate speech. Everything's very vague so that their definitions can change. When the pandemic was going on, it was misinformation and hate speech and so forth to say that you actually don't need to get a vaccination, or that masks don't work, or that, to call out any of the nonsense the government was trying to pull over and on it. And that was, you canceled your channel was, canned immediately if you dared say that. Now you can kind of say that because they don't really much care. Not so much, everything that they wanted to achieve was kind of already achieved at that point. So it's not so much at stake. So now they can kind of sort of change those rules a little bit. And what's our pet cause now? Oh, it's transgenderism and the abolition of any definitive masculine or feminine or male or female beings, so it's it's absurd. It's about bullies. It's about fighting back against bullies, as Captain America should. All right, let me see what I've missed here. Nathaniel's Lowsball, thank you so much. He said I got that one. That's what got me off on that tangent there. Studio 96 Films said, for a month called Pride Month, they sure do a lot of deviant acts, and they do exhibit degenerate behavior. Yeah, I mean, I don't really watch the kind of media that would show me it if it's going on, but I just haven't heard about it being as bold or upfront. But last year, I mean, you had, grown men and women doing basically sex acts or fetish acts, sexual fetish acts out in public, half dressed, if dressed at all, in these parades, and people bringing their children to see it. That's just wrong. I don't care what your worldview is. I don't care what your identity is. That is wrong. And we need to stand up and say that's wrong. That's evil. That's degenerate. There is morality, and that is absolutely sick and disgusting. You do what you want as a consenting adult, but you don't get to do that in public in front of children, for crying out loud. It's just basic common sense. But again, when you want to reshape the rules of basic reality, when you want to try to sell your delusion to the masses, go super extreme first. So then when you scale back, the masses will think, okay, well, at least we're not being crazy now, though. Okay, so now we're just accepting that teenagers can go ahead and mutilate themselves. Okay, because we're not saying that like a 5-year-old can. Okay, no, that's still ridiculous. That's still evil. That's still horrible. So yeah. Anyway. Another super chat here from Divinital Kayan. Thank you so much. That I have given those people the name Gafia. Oh, the gay mafia causes that basically what they are. They are the new mafia, but less composed. That reminds me of an experience I had recently. I was in a faculty meeting with the university that I taught. And we were talking about this essay that had to do with like the use of pronouns or whatever, but the meeting wasn't there to say that, hey, you needed to use preferred pronouns in the classroom. No, the meeting was there to evaluate people's ability to critically read and engage with this essay, this op-ed, where the writer of the op-ed was saying, I think people need to use people's preferred pronouns and so forth. Okay, so the fact is that the meeting wasn't there. We weren't there saying, or the point of the meeting wasn't to try and say, hey, you need to use people's preferred pronouns. Luckily, I've never been put in that situation, because I will absolutely say no, absolutely not. But okay, so that's the situation. This one faculty member speaks up, and you could kind of tell she was on the woke train anyway, because she was, from the very beginning of the meeting, she was constantly trying to draw attention to herself. It was an online meeting, and the picture that she chose for herself was just all this, look at me, look at me. She was talking about her accomplishments and was just, finding little ways to, toot her own horn throughout the whole meeting, which is what it's psychologically indicative of this kind of behavior. I need validation, desperately need validation, So she's doing that. And then at one point she talks about this article, and she says that she herself is part of the LGBT. She had some weird phrase, existential person of color. So, she had all the like little punch cards on her victim card for intersectional feminism. And she said, and yeah, because, pronouns are important. You don't want the alphabet mafia coming after you, and try to laugh it off. And I thought, did she just like try to threaten us right here? I mean, that's just absurd that we're in a world where she thinks she can just speak up and just bully her religious viewpoint, which it is a religious viewpoint. It's Gnosticism. It's basic religious Gnosticism, stating that you are not your body. You can be whatever you want to be. That's a religious viewpoint. You're free to have it. You've got a right to have that viewpoint. But we're in a world where they just get to bully that through and just lay it out in a public faculty meeting that is not there for that purpose at all. That's evil. That's an evil person right there. I mean, I don't know her individually. Maybe she's very great in other ways, but that's an evil act. That's an evil, tyrannical act. And that's what Pride Month is all about. That's at the heart of the LGBTQ A2E3 plus community. That's the agenda. I'm not saying everybody who identifies as this or that agrees with that, because that's one of the things you see too, is you see people, who are from a gay community or whatever saying, oh, wow, they've gotten even crazier than I have or whatever. But it's evil. We need to speak out against it. It's not, it's the sin pride. It's bullying. It's anything to tear down real, true blue masculinity, true blue femininity, and true blue authority, the authority that's needed. Anyway. All right, so I'm going to wrap up here. I do want to, before I forget though, point out that Sound Engraver is going to be doing her stream tomorrow. She's going to talk about the Princess Peach problem. And oh, there is one. She's going to be talking about her stream tomorrow. She's got the link there. I don't know why it didn't become a hyperlink for you. But you can check out Sound Engraver's channel, and that's there. So yeah, I got rolling tonight. Got on so many tangents and whatnot. I'm even over an hour. Wow. But it was a great chat, great time hanging out with you guys. Yeah, Dr. Y, if you're not with me, then you're my enemy. Yeah, it's basic dark side, right? That's Anakin Skywalker. It's not enough to have the freedom to do what I want. I need you to think that I'm awesome for doing it. But yeah, let's end the stream on a happy note. Happy Father's Day to all. We need to celebrate and encourage traditional fatherhood, and really what that means. Not the smoking a cigar while grilling a bratwurst, and I mean, not that there's anything wrong with those things, but you know what I mean. Let's get some real substance to manhood again, and intellectuality to it. But thank you guys for hanging out. It's been a blast, and I have gone much longer than I thought it, so I'm going to cut it here and go enjoy my night, go enjoy some of that awesome cake that my dear wife made for me, and get some cake and ice cream. Hope you guys have a great weekend, however you're going to celebrate Father's Day. But until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the true blue hero stories you love. Thanks for watching.